Hey guys, and welcome to another edition of Soul Wave Real Talk. I'm Kayla, and this is
Tracy.
Alright, so today's discussion is about the state of mental health in the Korean entertainment industry. We're probably also going to tackle Knowing Us, Korea as a whole, and then we're also going to talk about ourselves, because I think that's important. So the reason why we're bringing up this topic is because you know the story a little bit more because you follow him obviously a lot more closely than I do. But I saw the story. BAP leader Jungkook is taking a step back from promotions this round to deal with his anxiety. Is there anything you could elaborate more on it before we delve into it?
No, that's pretty much it. He's taking a break right now. I think they were saying that he suffers from panic and anxiety attacks, depression, and that he needed time to basically, just heal and kind of rest and like get treatment. I think also this weekend we found out that his mom is ill. I don't know how ill she is, no one knows, but I know his brother posted on his Instagram about his mom being ill. So people are kind of like speculating that maybe that could have like triggered or kind of been one of the reasons for why it's getting, worse for him. So yeah.
All right. So this is a thing that doesn't get talked about in the Korean entertainment industry. It doesn't get talked about in Korean society, and we're talking about it more here in the U.S. And I personally feel that this is definitely an issue, if you want to call it an issue, that needs to get spoken on. That's why we're doing a real talk on it. Now, when you look at, like, let's take it from the artist standpoint for a lot of these Korean artists. A lot of them are overworked. A lot of them they get no rest. They're eating improperly. And not only are they dealing with just that and crazy schedules, but they're also dealing with starting out at such a young age and having to work within the system and figure out emotions and growing up and things like that, like all kids do, but they're doing it under a microscope and under companies that really, in my opinion, don't take the time to actually care about the mental health of their artists. So you have you don't see a lot of the breakdown. Like, I have a feeling if this was an American entertainment, we'd see a lot of more Britney 2007 breakdowns. You know what I mean? If it was like America, but we've had people slowly talk about it. Like, I especially like to mention Tan. Tan has talked about it in their current variety shows that the Girls' Generation and TTS have done, where one of the things that she said kind of really hit close to my heart, where she was like, I 100% don't remember, so this isn't verbatim, but it pretty much sums up as, I want to go out, but I would rather spend time alone. I want to be out with the people, but somehow it's just easier to be alone. And I know personally that really resonated with me, because I felt that a lot, and I feel that a lot today. So just hearing that from a girl who's in one of the biggest girl groups, you're hearing a young man from a boy group having to take away from promotions after they've been gone for almost a year.
He was like the second one, I think, within a month that said this. So winners Nam Taehyun also had to take, they announced that he was dealing with was it depression? Depression. Yeah. I'm not sure if it was panic for him, but it was depression, mental health issues, I think they said, and that he was taking off or taking some time away from, winter and promotions right now. So that, I didn't comment on it because, it's winter and, but, of course, with stuff like that, that's like heart goes out. So it's like the second time in a month,
And this obviously it's not an isolated issue. If it's the three of them, there's more out there that aren't talking about it because they don't know how to talk about it, or there's no free space for them to talk about it. They don't know how to deal with it.
Well, it's like not even in the Korean industry. It's like, I know, again, like it's we always tread lightly when we talk about, issues that go on in Korea, because we don't live there. Even if we've lived there for an amount of time, we're not Korean, we don't live there. But when I speak to my good friend, my best friend, best friend in the whole wide world, we speak about, mental health and the things that we go through, and we're always there for each other when we go, because we understand each other, and our cues, and kind of when we're in those spaces and moments, what to do with each other. And we spoke about, how it's looked at in Korea, and how it's kind of stigmatized, kind of like in the Black community, where mental health is kind of like,
you have prey on it.
Yeah, it's like prey on it. I mean, in Korea, it's just something like they just don't. What she's told me is something they just don't address or talk about. Right. Like, it's kind of taboo. So I was really saddened, but also really encouraged by the fact that I didn't hear about Taeyeon, but when I heard about Taeyeon, when I heard about Taeyeon and Jungkook, and then Jungkook got on Twitter and he started to talk a bit, I was really like inspired, and I was really proud of him and proud of Taeyeon, because I was like, to be in a country and live there, and it's looked down upon, and it's like something's wrong with you. It's not like the sickness is talked about, but it's like something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
As a person to have allowed this type of, and it's not like that. For him to speak about it and be so transparent, it was a beautiful thing, because he's not really a transparent person,
Yeah, he keeps things
close to himself. So it really encouraged me, and we'll talk about ourselves later. But yeah, it's not something that's talked about, and I feel like that symptom of society, of course, is going to manifest itself in media and be kind of magnified, because media is basically just a picture of what society is, and a sensationalized version of it. So it's hard. Like you said, their schedules, they're constantly up. They're dealing with fans. They're dealing with managers. Scrutiny. They're dealing with scrutiny. They're dealing with the other members in the group, living in these confined spaces, dealing with different personalities, going on tours, going to interviews, being followed, having fans outside your house all day, like it's a lot. And if you're already dealing with stuff with yourself and dealing with stuff at home or with your family, there's so many different things that can trigger what you're going through. Yeah. And I think that's a big thing. People don't understand triggers.
Yeah.
So.
And because it isn't talked about in South Korea, you definitely feel like, wasn't there a young lady who she was in that Kara, Mike, she committed suicide.
Yeah, that's Sojin.
Yeah.
From Baby Kara.
All right. Yeah. So where you have incidents like this because there isn't an outlet, or like she said, these are things that don't get talked about, and I have chronic depression. I've always had it. So I understand where your mind goes, and so once you get suicidal thoughts. So when you don't have a place to talk about it, you feel like that's the only place. And suicide is very high in Korea. I believe it's
the highest.
It is the highest. They have the highest suicide rate. And sometimes, like, when you sit back and you're someone who deals with what we deal with, you go, well, maybe, and it doesn't always help, because I know I've talked to people and sometimes that doesn't even help either. But it does relieve the pain sometimes. Maybe if they did just have someone to talk to, maybe if they felt like this wasn't their fault, that this was a mental thing, a mental disorder or mental situation, or, that they could seek help, maybe we'd have a lot less suicides. If we just took this, we all just took this more seriously. Instead of just preying on it or living with it, not talking about it,
or just trying to, be happy.
Yeah.
And cheer yourself up.
Yeah. Like I said, it's amazing to me that there aren't a lot more Amanda Bynes, Britney Spears situations that happen. It
probably does happen, but we don't know about it.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, fair enough.
We don't know about it. And, again, when you go back to BAP and you go back to Jungkook and them going through the lawsuit and going through
those
all
are all
stuff and not knowing what's going to happen, and
this is your career, this is your life.
when a person, how transparent do I want to be? When a person deals with anxiety and panic disorders, things can trigger you, and sometimes you can find out as you go through your anxiety and your panic disorder that things can trigger you didn't even know would. And I have suffered from panic attacks since I was 15 years old. And the day that news dropped, I had actually stayed home from work because I had a panic attack at 4 o'clock in the morning. And I couldn't go back to sleep. So when I woke up and I saw that news, I was like, whoa, that's wild. Like, that was wild. And then the next day when I went to work, I saw you guys. We had YouTube. And then I get on the bus and man's groping himself on the bus next to me. And of course, I like lay into him, and I did it in the most calm way. But then I get off the bus, and what do I have? A panic attack. So triggers and things that go on in your life, and kind of trying to be a functional person through anxiety. Your anxiety comes out in different ways. It will be irritability. It'll be OCD. Like, you're hyper organized, you're hyper focused. And then after you're like that, you crash. And then when you crash, you're thinking about all the things that you did. And if you didn't do them right, and you're thinking about the people that you came in contact with, and if you hurt them, and then you're thinking about tomorrow, and oh my God, tomorrow's coming, and how am I going to get through tomorrow? And it's this fear, this terror that kind of just envelops and engulfs you. And it's very hard to deal with things like that. It's a difficult thing to deal with. And again, like I said, the transparency of these artists to kind of talk about it is so commendable, because I don't think I would be saying this on camera if our faves had not, I don't talk about it. Like, my best friend knows. 2 of my other best friends knows. Like, 3 of my friends know. Michael, that day was the first, when you asked for us to do this video, I was kind of like...
I read it.
You could tell. I was like, I don't really want to...
Whereas, I came up with the pitch to do this video. I'm going to be 29 soon. I'm going to reach 30 in a year. So that's, let's say, formative years. I want to say that's probably about 20 years dealing with knowing something wasn't right within me. That my mental state, it was going to be a problem. Or in life, it's something I'm going to always struggle with. I personally feel like there really, I don't know, this could be a slight defeatist attitude, I don't know, but I personally feel that really isn't a cure for depression. Only because since I've struggled with it for so long, like I said, I've had suicidal thoughts. Like, I've had suicidal thoughts recently. This isn't just like a thing that, you're in high school and you get bullied and picked on. I mean, it was more 8th grade that I got picked. This doesn't matter. But like, we're in this, like, it's a constant for me. It's something, especially within the last... No, it's all the time. It's an everyday thing. I wake up with this every day. There are days where it's better, where I could wake up and function no problem, where you don't even think about it. But, I will definitely say this a lot within the past year. I went from having a job to not having a job for half a year, then to getting a job, and then that job being super stressful. Like, I literally had a panic attack one day going to work because it was super stressful. And it's one of those things where you're like... You're already halfway there, so you have to deal with it. And I had to deal with how the anxiety and the panic all day at work. And it's customer service in a restaurant, but you have to deal with it because you have to make that money in order to survive. Then not having a job, now finding a job. It's like, there's so many things. I've dealt, like, there are days where I couldn't get out of bed, where I couldn't fathom, I need to get up, I need to do something. I need to, like, you just can't, I know I felt heavy enough where it's like, no, why did I wake up this morning? I wish I never woke up. Me waking up is not helping me. Me being awake isn't helping my family. Me being awake isn't helping society. I shouldn't be awake. That's it. There's no need for me to be awake. There's no need for me to have a day. I can't, there's nothing. Nothing. And you feel that and it engulfs you. And, you know, I don't have a lot of people to talk to. You know, I even admitted to my mother recently, because me and her were talking, and she goes, well, you can't be depressed. You can't have depression. I was like, I do. And she was like, oh. So it's literally like that. People closest to you don't see it, because I'm a highly functional. Yeah,
I think that's what I was gonna get into. It's that, and of course everything does have to do with color, and I don't care if you whatever. But as women of color, we don't get to have panic or depression, or
we're not allowed.
We're not allowed to have days where we need a personal or a mental health day or a sickness. You know, like, so we function through our anxiety, and that's why it manifests itself in different ways. Like I said, I get hyper OCD, so when I come home and if there's a cup that's left on the counter, that'll make me angry for 2 hours. Like, I will literally feel like I will feel disrespected. I'll feel like things are out of place. I feel like I have no control.
Right.
I'll feel like that, and I'll take it out on my best friend, and I'm like, can you at least love me enough to put things away, because you know you're triggering me, you know? And she's not trying to. She just care. Like, it's just a cup that's left there. Just a cup. But because my anxiety it'll manifest itself in those ways. It's like, we have to function. Like, that day when that Tuesday when it happened, when I had the panic, I was like, I got in the shower and I was washing myself, and I was like, I'm going to work. Like, there's no way. But in the back of my mind was like, if you go to work, you're gonna have another one. You can't have this. You can't have that happen at work.
You can't.
I can't do this at work. So if you have another one, it has to be in the confines of your home.
You have to be by yourself.
I have to be by myself. Nobody can see you.
Yes.
Right. And then the next day was the first time my best friend saw me have a panic attack, and she couldn't even touch me. Like, it's really, we say all this and we're being transparent like this because we want people to know that it's normal to feel like this. Conversations like this need to be normalized, and it's almost gut-wrenching and painful for me to even talk about this, because I feel like I'm super transparent with everything else in my life, and it's like, this is not something that I wanted to share.
Yeah. See, it's a weird thing. Go ahead.
But these conversations need to be had, because we're not the only ones that go through this, and I know there are people watching this that will watch this that are like, yo, that's me. Like, when I was in Korea and I spoke about one of my closest friends right now, I had a video where I was talking about HS, hidradenitis suppurativa, and I was talking about my disease, and I was talking about how I've had these surgeries and how I feel as a woman. And you guys a lot of you follow me on Snapchat, you follow me on Twitter, you follow me on Instagram, how I'm very much about loving myself. It's because I've had to every day teach myself how to do it. And I've had to tell myself I'm beautiful even when I didn't feel that way, because mind over matter, right? Even though the matter does look good sometimes. But I had a friend who was like, or a follower who was like, I know what you're dealing with, because I didn't even say the name. But she's like, I have that too. Can we meet up? And we met. And she's one of the most beautiful people that I've ever met in my life. I would never think that she deals with the disease that I have. But I was so thankful that that video where I opened up just a little bit, I was able to show her some solidarity and make her feel like she wasn't alone, you know? And that's why we need to have these videos, and that's why people like Taeyeon and Jungkook and Taehyun can say, because people need to know that they're not alone, and that it's okay to talk about, you know, these things, even when they feel alone, even when society tells you that you shouldn't be like this, that it's your fault, you know?
Yeah, one of my biggest issues is always that blanket, that all-encompassing darkness that is loneliness.
Right.
Just when you get in these states, you can convince yourself you are alone. There is no one who feels what you feel. Even though, like, you know, rationally there are you know, people, there are people, but you feel like you're burdening others. Right. You know, that you know me, I'm the type of person who is always there for everyone. Right.
I'm the same way. We both have that symptom. We take care of everybody, and we want to be there for everybody, and
then once that gets established, it's like, you want someone to ask how you are.
Just to ask, just to say, oh my God, just to say, hey Trace, how you doing?
Yeah.
And my friends have gotten better with it, because I think it's like, not to cut you off, but it's we are kind of always the ones to wake up kind of like, this is how I feel, but whatever, that's how I feel. I want to make sure my friend's okay.
Exactly.
Like, whatever, how I feel is how I feel. Yeah, it's not going to change, whatever.
I'm going to live through it. I'm going to go about my day.
I'm going to survive. Yeah. I got to make this money, so get up. Who gives a fuck?
This is exactly what I think every morning.
So you're like, I want my friends to know that I'm there for them. So how are you? But after a while, it gets so draining, and you get angry, and you get jaded, and you're just like,
Michael has been at the ends of my, and I will always apologize for that. And even though I kind of feel like I shouldn't apologize, but then I should, because it's not your fault that these things happen in a way. Like I have a tendency, I keep things to myself.
Yes,
I've learned to keep things to myself.
Yes, you do.
I'm very...
All the time.
There is no, I'm a mystery wrapped in a conundrum, wrapped in a riddle. That is me. Even though pretty much what you see is what you get, there's still so much more to see. But unless I want you to, you won't see it. So I tend to hold a lot in. I've always held a lot in. Because of how I grew up and who I am as a person and my family situation. Wasn't the best, but it pretty much put into scope that how you feel doesn't matter. I mean, it matters, but it doesn't matter.
It's a Black, Hispanic, Afro-Latina family.
Yeah.
So
where you have to, because I'm the oldest, you have to be there. And
you have to be there. You have to take care of everybody. And you have to be quiet, and you have to just put up with it and shut up.
Yeah. So but there'll be times where. And I'll be super transparent about this. It usually tends to happen around the time about my time of the month. Mm-hmm. My hormones are so all over the place. There has never been a balance in my... I know when it's coming because that's when I get those really dreaded thoughts of, oh shit, I shouldn't wake up tomorrow. Mm-hmm. That's how I know. And it happens when everything just comes together and my hormones are so out of whack and so all over the place where it's just like, I'll lash out because I let things build, and that's when it's just like, you don't understand, and da 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 da, and they're like, where did this come from? It's just like, it's been building, but I didn't tell you it was happening because I kept it to myself, because I feel like there's no one to talk to about this. I feel I can't be honest with you, because if I'm honest, then that shows weakness, because all I've been doing is showing you how strong I am, and if you see that crack in my armor, I'm no longer strong.
Right.
And I no longer can be there for you.
Right.
And all I am is there for people. I don't have people there for me. So, when you hear people who don't get to talk about their mental health actually start talking about it, like you said, it is inspiring. It really does touch a chord, because you know that there are a lot of people suffering. And that's kind of why I brought this, because, like I said, I'm getting older. And it's something in the last year, I've struggled with. I need to talk about this. I need someone to know that they're not alone. Like, how I feel I'm alone. Sorry. Because when you feel you're alone, you feel like there's no out. And then that's when those thoughts come, that it'd be easier if I wasn't around. People wouldn't have to worry about me. And I wouldn't have to worry about everyone else. They'll just be quiet. And all you want is the quiet, because the voices inside are telling you that's what needs to happen. But when you hear someone shouting above those voices, hey, I feel your pain. And what they've done for me and what other people have done for me, because people are talking about depression here too in the States now. And
our community is dealing with
finally realizing that being bipolar is an actual thing. People go through post-traumatic stress. These are things that it's becoming a conversation that's needed to happen. And I want to be there. I threw out this video idea because I feel we have a responsibility.
We do.
We're all about making a change and making a voice for those who don't have voices. By fans, for fans kind of thing, always. So we do these real talks because there are things that need to get talked about, and this is something that needs to get talked about. You're not alone. You're not alone. I know in the back of my head, I know I'm not alone, but that doesn't change it's that idea.
And it's not your fault that you feel this way. It's not anything wrong with you and you're not strong enough, and you know, you need to. My biggest thing is I always tell myself that you're so ungrateful. You need to stop complaining. There are people that are far worse than you.
Yeah.
So what if your mom's not here?
Yeah,
So
it's
what if
like-
your dad's not calling you when you want him to call you? So what if you had to raise yourself?
Isn't that the thing?
So
you
what?
force yourself to believe your
You
problems
force yourself
don't matter.
to believe that your problems don't matter, and you're making a bigger deal out of the things that you're going through, and it, you know, and it that forces you into more loneliness because you start to separate yourself from people. And even when you're being there for your friends, it's like you're there for them, but you're a hollow shell.
Yeah.
And you feel resentful when you, like, there's nothing more fulfilling and life-giving to me than being there for my friends, because I didn't grow up with emotional support. Like, I didn't grow up with like, I had people that would always stand in the gap and kind of bless me at times in my life where I needed it the most, but I didn't have a consistent emotional support or financial or anything, right? So it's such a blessing when I'm able to be there for my friends, right? But sometimes I can be so angry and feel so sad and alone because it's like I'm there for them, but they also, I'm just one of the people that are there for them. They have their mom to call, they have their dad to call, they have their, you know, I'm just one of the options. And sometimes you just want to feel like you are loved, you know? You want to feel like you are appreciated. And you also want to feel like you belong.
Yeah.
You know, and these type of illnesses or sicknesses make you feel like you're not alone. I'm dealing with one sickness that makes you feel like you're not a woman and you're gross and you're horrible and blah, 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 blah. And then you're dealing with this panic because you've had a whole life of topsy-turvy instability, and that you can never feel safe wherever you are. You never feel safe in your relationships. You never feel safe, you know, at your, you know,
boy.
you never feel safe. And then we have our president, well, y'all president.
He's not my president.
Not y'all, I'm saying y'all.
Yeah, no. We're just making that statement. He is not our president.
Where my black skin is weaponized, you know, and my Muslim friends and my gay, transgender, you know, bisexual, LGBTQ friends don't feel safe in their bodies, don't feel safe in the country that their ancestors and their mothers and fathers and grandmothers built to create. We're not safe here. We're not safe. So this panic is always with us. And this is why we need to talk to each other. This is why we need to be transparent. And this is why we need to not be ashamed, because it's not our shame or our burden to carry that we deal with depression or we deal with panic disorder or we deal with anxiety. It's not our burden to carry. It's a result of
what society
what we live in, and also our bodies are fallen, and our bodies are you know, like, depression is you know, people talk about medication, they talk about all these things, they talk about what your brain is doing, but I've seen people that have benefited from that. You know, I don't suffer from chronic depression, you know, but I have friends who suffer from it, and some of it, you know, it's, again, like I said, it's not your burden to carry. There are so many different circumstances, but you can't just wish it and work it or will these things away. It's not how it works. And that's why we want to sit here and say, talk to people, go talk to your friends, talk to your parents, ask how they're doing. If you're a person that you notice someone in your life where you think that they're extra strong, ask that person. If you admire a person in your life, you're like, you're so strong, ask them how they're doing, because 9 times out of 10, it hurts being strong. Or it's just they're willing themselves to be strong. And if you're somebody who is or don't consider themselves strong, or if you feel alone, reach out to somebody, talk to someone, call a hotline. If you are experiencing, you know, suicidal thoughts, you're not alone. Don't go through that alone. Don't end your life, because I promise you there's somebody on this earth that loves you.
We're here for you.
There's somebody.
This is why we're doing
There's somebody on this earth that loves you. There's somebody on this earth that needs you. There's somebody that you may bless, that you may change their day, and they may be thinking the same thoughts that you're thinking, and they may want to take their lives, and you can be that person that saves them. You can be that person. So please don't hide, and don't feel ashamed. And I know that's easier said than done.
And yeah, it's
easier said than done. It's easier said than done. Because this video is hard for us, and after this gets posted, we're gonna be like, what did we do?
No. I would never. Like I said, this is definitely something that I wanted to talk about. And I know
you're important.
Yeah.
You're important. Kayla, you're important.
You're important too.
Michael, you're important. We're important.
You guys are important.
We're important.
And
yeah.
Jungkook, you're important. Take all the time you need.
Thank you.
Tan, you're important.
I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you to every person in Korea who gives us this gift of music and lends themselves and will lend other parts of them that they don't need to lend. Jungkook, you didn't have to get on Twitter and tweet anything, but you did. And I was blessed by that. And I'm thankful that you decided to speak into the situation and be a leader and be an example of bravery and vulnerability and not being ashamed. It's amazing.
It is. And yeah, you all matter.
You all matter.
We matter. Your mental health matters. So yeah, I mean, hopefully this starts a movement of people opening up. Ask your neighbor how they are. Mm-hmm. You know,
we need to love each other at a time like this. We really need to love each other. Where
the world is going through
we're looking hate in the face.
Yeah.
We really need to love each other at this time.
Because if we're
at no other time, we really need to love each other.
I kind of feel like this is definitely a convergence of we definitely need to take a look at the worldwide bigger picture. Mm-hmm. We all need help. We all need our neighbor. Ask your neighbor how they are.
Really?
I can definitely tell you as someone who's always perpetuating, I've got you, I've got you, I've got you. Because I do. I mean, if I got it, I'll give it. At the end of the day, I will give you my last drop of blood. If it saves you, I will give it to you. But in doing that, you know, I just sometimes wish someone would be like, how are you?
Yeah.
How are you feeling? Even though I've had it happen, and again, it's one of those things where I've taught myself, even if they ask you, don't talk about it. Even if, like, again, it's that whole, if you see that chink in my armor, you will no longer see me as the person who's there for you.
But even if the person doesn't respond, 9 times out of 10, people like us are not going to respond.
Oh, yeah.
I think her more
that.
than me, because I'm such a thug, but my insides are so soft that if I know you love me, I may just let you in. She's a harder cookie to
and I wish I was. I really didn't see. That's the thing. Isn't that funny? I know the problem, but it's just so ingrained.
But the thing is, what I was gonna say is that even if you don't share, the goal is not to share. The goal is just to let the person know that you're thinking of them. Yeah. And that goes a long way.
Trust me, it does.
And if you see a friend that is a victim or and you see them not being loved, or you see hate being projected onto them, stand in the gap and be the person that builds that barrier and builds that refuge for that person, because that's what we need in this day and age where, like I said, we're looking hate in the face, and we have 4 years of literal insanity, literal hate, misogyny, bigotry, homophobia, racism, literal perversion, Islamophobia. We're looking that in the face for the next 4 years. Whether he gets impeached or his henchman becomes the president, our House and Senate, we need each other right now. This time is the time. I've never felt such terror to be a Black woman in this country.
It's so weird. I think my mentality went from, I don't think I'm scared. It's just to speak on this real quick, because since, you expressed yourself how you're terrified. It's very weird. I'm in a place of where it's so surreal what's happening, though it's one of the things where I saw it coming.
Oh, yeah.
Definitely.
I knew last week.
Oh, yeah.
I knew last week.
I kind of felt it for a while that this is how it was going to turn out. I will always preach to the end of time of, America isn't what everyone dreams it to be. This country was birthed on the backs and the bones and the blood and bathed in the blood of others. For you to ever think that went away is
stupidity.
It's ignorance.
Racism doesn't go away. No. It can go away. It depends on the people, but all it has done in this country is change its face. It looks different. It's covert. It becomes your friend, and it kills your brothers and sisters in secret. Yeah, that's what it does. That's all it has done.
And I know this probably isn't good for my mental health either, but I've kind of hit a point where it's just like, oh, this is happening. This is happening. it's so surreal. It's so surreal. Like, I fully believe in the power of revolution, and trust me, if you follow me on the interwebs and SNSs, I'm a big preacher of Star Trek DS9, Star Trek Deep Space Nine. I have a feeling there's a character on it. Her name is Kira Nerys. There is a Kira Nerys slowly building inside of me, a revolutionary building, and I kind of half of me feels like that's what's gonna happen, and I want it to happen. You know?
But I mean, courage. Being terrified doesn't mean that you're gonna
of course
sit out of the fight.
No.
Like, I'm terrified, but I've never felt more empowered and more. Yes. It's always been urgent, but there's a sense of urgency, I think, in people like us, in people to mobilize and start to resist and form action. And we need each other. We need to love each other in order to accomplish those things. We need to take care of ourselves and preserve ourselves. Our mental health is going to get challenged, and we're gonna really, really, really in this skin and in this country. Even I had a coworker today, two white coworkers in the bathroom crying hysterically, and I went over to them and I gave her a tissue and we talked, and she looked at me and she said, my friend said to me, welcome to my world. This is what I deal with 24/7, 365 days a year. And she cried and she looked at me. She said, Tracy, I'm so sorry. And that was so healing for me. It was so beautiful. And I told her that I appreciated that. And I said, sis, now that you've said sorry to me and you've blessed me, now I need you to mobilize, and I need you to get with your friends that look like you and do some work. We need to love each other. We need to be here for each other in a crucial time in our history right now. With all that said,
to wrap up this real talk, guys, we're doing this because we feel it's important. We're talking to you, as Tracy says, we're being transparent with you because we, as young adults, or as an adult, I guess I'm at that age now. We're adults. We're old as hell. As adults, it is our responsibility to let other adults and young adults and the youth know you're not alone. You're not alone. We have a responsibility to you because we are people of color. Mm-hmm. We are those who represent the LGBT community. We are those who represent feminism. And we are those who represent a change. Mm-hmm. We have a responsibility to you because we are trying to make a change in an industry and in a field we all love dearly. Right. And if we don't take on topics like this, then what change are we actually fighting for? What change are we actually trying to bring? So, to let you know, if you need to get something off your chest, you know how to find us.
Right.
And
we're all over the place.
We are.
And always remember that your very existence, this is the last thing I'm going to say. My friend said this to me. I love him. He does a lot of work in queer studies and queer resistance and queer activism. And he said this to me as a woman of, like, a black woman. But I'm going to extend this to people that are like us, that suffer from these situations, who fight through these situations. Your very existence is resistance. Your very existence. Every day you decide to get up and go through the day, you're fighting and you're winning and you're a victor and you're not a victim. You may feel like one, but every day you decide to move, the very life breath in you is resistance. Feel strong, feel encouraged, and know you're not alone, and we're gonna win.
Like I said, you guys know where to find us, and of course, Mike, please be sure to post below hotlines that you guys can reach and contact if you feel you do need help. But know that we are here for you. You may be a stranger, you may be halfway across the world, you may be sitting right next to me. If you need help, if you feel no one's listening or no one asked you how you're doing, take the chance. You can message me. I'll ask how you're doing. We can talk. Let's start a conversation. This is what we're here for. Let's start a conversation. Mm-hmm. So thank you guys for listening to us. Thank you to those who've taken the steps in the Korean entertainment industry. Taehyun is his name?
Taehyun, yeah.
From Winner. And everyone else who has fought adversity and had to deal with mental illness on their own. South Korea, you can...
Park Bom. Park Bom, we love you so much.
She's definitely...
She really...
Yeah.
Park Bom, how can we forget her?
Yeah.
Thank you for smiling and
Thank you for
just
doing
being
what
full
you
of
do.
love.
Thank you for,
regardless of how people try to. You are the very epitome.
You get up.
You get up
work,
and you smile.
You bring us the gift of music. You bring us you're gifting us your presence, and for you guys to take the step forward to even slightly touch on it or mention it or make or allude to it, those are big steps. Those are huge steps, and we thank you for it. Now let's just rally everyone else to let them know that it's okay, that they too can talk about it. Continue making safe spaces, and you young men and women who have done this, we thank you, because this has allowed us to also create another safe space.
Safe space.
All right. So that does it for this edition of Real Talk.
Guys.
Thank you guys.